Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to watch our Green Team 101 video. Here with me to talk about green teams is Larry Underwood. He is a member of the Bull Run Unitarian Universalist Green Team. I'm so excited to have him here today to get into the hows, whys, and whats of the Green Team ministry. Our hope is that you can take what you learned from this video and apply it to your own faith community to put your faith into action. Thanks so much for joining, Larry. Please take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and pleasure to be talking to you all about Green Team. It's become a very important part of our congregation and a very important part of my work on climate. So why is this is a Green Team important? I think the primary reason is that climate is a very serious problem. It's an existential problem, and most people know that. In fact, in a recent survey that was conducted by the Prince William County government, showed that well over 80% of the people, closer to 90%, believe that climate change is a real problem caused by human activities, and well over 80% believe that something should be done about it. And I think that's generally true of most people. But most people really don't know what to do specifically. What actions can they take to become part of the solution? And this is where the Green Team comes in for our congregation, at least, in that we sort of lead the congregation in developing ideas and strategies for combating climate change, both as at the individual level and as the congregational level. The important thing, I think, to notice is that it doesn't take a lot of people to start a Green Team. In fact, our Green Team started with just one person who believed that this was an important thing to do. And he found within our congregation 3 other people that agreed with him. And how did they become a Green Team? They just decided they were a Green Team. And they talked to the minister about it and the board, and pretty soon they got official recognition as a Green Team. Our national organization, the Unitarian Universalist Association, has a program that they call Green Congregation Sanctuaries. And they decided that they would like to go through the process of becoming recognized as a green sanctuary congregation. And so they took it as their first big major project, doing all the things that were necessary to get that status. And in 2004, we were recognized as one of the first congregations to get green sanctuary certification, certainly the first in our area. And so that was a major accomplishment. The congregation was very proud of that. It put the Green Team on the map for the congregation. And I think, but their work didn't stop there, because they continued to work on, take on similar projects. And to the extent that I think concern for the environment and taking action to do something about it has become really a defining characteristic of our congregation. The important thing to notice there is that it didn't take a lot of people to get it started. Just one person found 2 or 3 others, and they formed a Green Team. We have in our congregation, we have 8 people who are dedicated to that. And but that seems to be an exceptionally large number. In most of the congregations that I've talked to that had groups like this, sometimes it's only 2 or 3 people in the congregation that form the Green Team committee, or the Green Team. But that's certainly enough to do the things that need to be done within the congregation to work on climate change. So we have continued, the Green Team has continued. I became the head of it about 5 or 6 years ago. And of course, I would love to see 20 or 30 people become members of our team. Yeah. But we're a very busy congregation. Everybody has their projects. And so I think I'm quite fortunate to have 8 people that are dedicated to it. So what are the kinds of things we do? Well, we really focus on four different areas. For one thing, and I think it's very important that a green team will educate the congregation as to the seriousness of the problem. The climate change is a real problem. It's an existential problem, and it's one that we need to do something about. But that can become kind of depressing. And so we like to stress also that one, it's a serious problem, but two, there are solutions. And three, we can all be a part of those solutions at the individual and congregational level. And here are some specific things that we can do at the individual and congregational level to implement solutions to that problem. So we do that we conduct at least one lay-led service during the year, usually around Earth Day. Sometimes we have more than one. We encourage our minister to have his services that are dedicated and focus on climate change issues. And in fact, all of the ministers that we have had down through the years have agreed to do that. We also conduct classes within our adult education program on specific climate change issues. We write articles for our newsletter on a somewhat regular basis that explain issues and what the Green Team is doing to become a part of the solutions. So education is an important part of what we do. We also decided several years ago that we couldn't really tell other people what to do until we took a good look at our own house. And so we looked at the way our church does business and looked to how we could green up our building and our buildings and what things we could do to improve our own carbon footprint. We financed an energy audit of our buildings, and that resulted in a set of recommendations that we divided into a series of categories. One was things we could do immediately at little or no cost, such as we replace light bulbs, let's replace them with energy efficient light bulbs rather than the incandescent bulbs that we were using. Projects that we could initiate that would cost a little bit of money, but could be within our budget, such as, and there were lots of these. We have motion sensor now in most of our bathrooms where people walk in, the light automatically turns out. When people leave, it after a while turns off, because we were finding that people we would put a sign up, please turn these lights off, but nobody ever did. And so they just burned sometimes for days, nobody using the bathroom. So little things like that didn't cost too much money, but cost a little bit of money. We replaced all of our windows. And then the third category were projects that would certainly be nice to do, but would represent major expenditures, such as replacing our oil fired boiler with an electric boiler, replacing the rest of our heating and air conditioning system. We discovered, for example, that we had no insulation in the roof above our sanctuary. So in the summertime, that just brings heat into the building, and in the wintertime, heat just flows out through the roof. And so it was a fairly expensive project, but we put in new insulation. And of course, the big one that we want to do eventually is to put solar panels on our roof. And that would be a major expense. The roof that we have has an estimated lifetime of another 4 or 5 years. And so we really can't justify getting rid of that roof until it runs out its natural life. But when that happens, we think that we will be able to not only replace the roof, but we will then focus on trying to get solar panels on the roof that will generate most of our electricity. And we're hoping. And hopefully by that time, the technology will improve, will continue to improve, especially around battery storage. And we hope to be able to do that within the next 4 or 5 years. So that'll be a major expenditure. But we've made quite a progress in lowering our carbon footprint. We ended up with a residual carbon footprint. And so we have elected to buy carbon offsets to neutralize that carbon footprint. So we have essentially, through the purchase of those carbon offsets, become a energy neutral congregation. So that was a bit of an expense, but not a great expense. And I'll tell you later about how we've decided to finance that. So that's the second thing we've done. We've greened up brew. We also affiliate with other groups. We find that we're much more impactful when we work together. And so we've affiliated with such groups as the Interfaith Power and Light, the Prince William Conservation Alliance, Moms Out Front, the Citizens Climate Lobby. And just recently we have decided that we're going to affiliate with the FACTS group as well. And we're really looking forward to joining that group in their efforts. And so we have sort of a network now of organizations that are concerned with climate change that sort of link together these interest groups. And we think that we're much more impactful by doing that. And the fourth area, we think that we are somewhat blessed in that we live just across the river from the federal government. Our congregation is about 2 hours away from Richmond, and we consider the Board of County Supervisors offices and the City Manassas supervisors to be in our neighborhood. So we're close to the politicians, and we think it's very important to work with our politicians to enact legislation and establish policies that are climate friendly. And we've had, I think, great success in that. So we've become deeply involved in citizen lobbying. And we work with the Citizens Climate Lobby to work with our County Board of Supervisors. We've been working with them over the last year. We've contacted, I think, just about every one of the supervisors and talked to them about climate-friendly legislation. And I think we can take credit, at least part credit, for the fact that the County Board of Supervisors has recently passed a climate action plan. They had a resolution that the county would become carbon neutral by 2050. The carbon action plan, or the climate action plan, is a plan of how they will actually accomplish that. It's a very good plan. So we're working with the County Board of Supervisors, and they have been very action oriented in doing these things. We've also worked with our state legislators to introduce climate friendly legislation. We usually send a delegation to Richmond once a year for the lobby day, when we can contact the legislators directly. And politicians need two things to stay in office. They need money and they need votes. And most of us don't have the money to give politicians to make an impact, but we certainly have the votes. And the third group that we work with on a regular basis are our federal legislators. We're right across the river from downtown Washington, and there's no excuse really for us not going down and talking to our politicians on a regular basis, and we do that. We do that primarily through letters that we write to our legislators, and that's part of our education program. We bring to the congregants' attention, this is an issue that's come up, this is some legislation that's pending. Please lend your support to it and send a letter to your senators or your representatives and ask them to support it. And because we approach them not in a pound down the desk thing and shake our fingers in their faces, but we approach them with gratitude and with respect. We find that they really do want to talk to us, because politicians do want to know what their constituents believe. They are our representatives, but they can't represent us unless they know what our views are. And so we feel that it's very important to let them know what our views are. And so we do that on a regular basis. So those are the areas that we have focused on in our congregation. I'm looking forward to our affiliation with the Facts group, because I think by organizing other faith groups into a coherent voice, that we can have a real impact on our politics, and on we can all become part of the solution to the climate change problem. And I'm really looking forward to the future with that. So that's about all I can think of at this time. Do you have any questions, Sasha? Or
No, thank you. That was actually really awesome. I loved all of what you said, especially with in the beginning on how the Green Team started at BRUU. I think a lot of people need to know that it does not take much sometimes to spark something, to start something in your own faith community, and it's important. I know just from my own work that I've done now, speaking to certain individuals, they are interested, but they think they have to approach it as like I need more people, you know what I mean? And sometimes
really,
you just,
really don't. And
yeah.
then you're looking for the specific interests of the members. One of our members that's been a member of it since the very, very beginning, Susie Eastridge, discovered that there is such a thing as shade-grown, fair trade coffee, tea, and chocolate. And so she has affiliated with that group. She orders those supplies, and we sell those to our members, which supports the farmers that are growing fair trade coffee and tea and chocolate. And but also we get a small percentage of small profit on the sales, and that money has paid for our carbon offsets. So we're not a line item on the budget, and that's only because Susie has taken such an interest in that project, and now it's become a big thing for our congregation. So yeah, it doesn't take very many people. It just takes people with ideas and dedication and a little bit of time that they can put in on it.
I do have one question as far as funding goes sometimes for the things that Green Team Ministries would want to do within their faith communities. Do you find that you have to kind of get tactical about how you fund? Is it like, do you know what I mean?
Yes, we get a small contribution from the congregation each year. We're a line item in the budget, but that doesn't supply us with very much. It gives us some seed money. But the sale of this coffee, tea, and chocolate, it's good coffee and it's good tea and it's good chocolate. And who doesn't like either? Most of us are addicted to at least one of those three things.
Right.
And so we capitalize on that. And but I don't think, as I look back on it, I don't think, other than the carbon offsets, I don't think there are any reoccurring charges that we have. It doesn't take a lot of money to run a green team, because most of these, now, of course, the projects that we recommended for the improvement of the buildings did cost money, but that was, we passed on to the finance people and the people that run the building, and they said, yes, these are things that we really need to do and we can do. And but for expenses for the green team as a whole, there weren't a lot.
Okay, that's good. I feel like people need to know that as well. First starting off, sometimes people think they need funding for some stuff, but
Yeah,
I'm
no,
glad you had said even in the beginning that you guys found some things that you could do that didn't cost a lot of money or no cost at all, really. So that's
it
awesome.
doesn't cost a lot of money, doesn't take a lot of people.
Yeah,
It's a little bit of each, and then go from there.
two biggest things.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, those were all the questions I had. So thank you so much, Larry, for having on. We really appreciate you talking about green teams.
You
Really
bet.
appreciate it. Yeah.
You bet.